Nice, I'm about to finish the last part of the range DPS, ranking for Castanatria. I just finished the melee DPS one as well. It's loading up right now, I'm almost done. Wait, what the what is this? What the? Oh, come on. What is this? What the? Oh my god, another one? Okay guys, listen, you know how it goes, right? You know how these class changes go. There's going to be a list of things. A lot of that is going to be completely useless, so let's try to go over the important stuff, right? Yeah, this is not important. No, I didn't mean these numbers. These are pointless. Let's go over something more poignant, please. Right, so the scaling of Malefic Rapture has been nerfed. Pretty important, since Malefic Rapture is one of the main ways of doing damage for Affliction Warlock. In fact, the most damage of Affliction Warlock is going to come from Malefic Rapture, so this nerf is pretty big. Another type of change that Blizzard is going through with this class balancing is going to be scaling, not just nerf in and of itself. For example, Arcane Prodigy. Arcane Missiles is going to reduce the cooldown of Arcane Power by 0.15 each time it deals damage. Before it was 0.1 every cast. The difference is that now it's going to cap out at 0.36, whereas before it was capping out at 1.5. Obviously now you're going to have more hits of Arcane Missiles, and it's going to apply to every single hit. Decay is another one that has gotten some nerfs. This one is for Blood Decay, because now the maximum healing of Death Strike is being nerfed from 8% to 2.4 at max level. It starts out at 1.5 and 1.1, so it's pretty close, but the scaling is going to go all the way wrong for Blood. It's a pretty nasty nerf. Talking about Decay, we also have Unholy, which has gotten two changes, major ones. You have the Festering Wound change, another example of scaling. The cooldown reduction of Apocalypse is going to start at 0.5 as opposed to 0.7, which isn't that big of a difference, but then it's going to cap out at 1.2 as opposed to 3.5, which is a big change, big nerf. Another one is a complete change of Lingering Plague. Lingering Plague used to extend the duration of Virulent Plague by 0.3 per Scourge Strike. Now it's just going to be flat out increased by 3 seconds, and the damage is increased by 10%. This is an overall buff. You can just now instantly apply Virulent Plague to multiple targets, and it's going to do 10% more damage for free and last 3 more seconds. It's just a nice and better quality of life change. BM Hunter has received another nearly 50% nerf. This one is very important because it's to the entire damage done by you and your pet inside Bestial Wrath. Considering Bestial Wrath is the most important part of the BM Hunter, cooldown window, this is a pretty big nerf. Another change, another example of the scaling nerf. The duration increase of Anti-Magic Zone goes from 1 second to 2 seconds, so it looks like a good buff, except that it's going to cap out at 4.8 seconds instead of 8 seconds. This is another scaling nerf. Talking about scaling nerfs, you have Demon Hunter. Sinful Brand is going to start out at a 5-second extra cooldown reduction instead of 1, but it's going to cap out at 12 seconds instead of 15. So this is a type of scaling you will have to worry in about a year. This, I think, is a joke. I think it's a typo. I don't think it's correct. I don't understand why you would want to completely remove the Soulstar generation of a Tyrant without giving Demo something in return, so I am confused. Elemental has went through some changes, some nerfs, I should say. Call of Flame is the only buff, essentially, from 15% longer elemental duration to 35% longer, capping all the way to 50%. In return, the strongest legendary for all-purpose usage of Elemental has been nerfed. Echoes of Great Sundering is now going to be doing 175% extra damage instead of 250. This is pretty big. This one has been buffed as well. Flame Shock is going to have a 50% increased crit chance instead of 30. This is going to be very well and very good for scaling later on. Even just reaching 30% crit, this is going to be very, very good. And another popular nerf for a popular legendary. Legendary being Legacy of the Frost Witch for Enhancement Shaman, going from 100% to 15% increased damage. This is brutal, and it will no doubt be buffed up a little bit. I predict a 35% revert of the nerf, but yeah, it was clearly by far the strongest legendary for enhancement, so it was an expected nerf. Another nerf for enhancement, this one is a little bit more confusing. Wind Fury Weapon having a 40% chance to trigger a third attack, scaling all the way to 80. Now it's going to be 20% base, scaling to 35. This is pretty mean. Wind Fury Weapon doesn't even do meaningful damage. It's weird. It's a weird change. Going over to Frost. Another very, very good buff this time around for Frost Mage because of the massive legendary nerf they have received. This is an attempt at bumping them up again. Ice Lance damage against frozen enemies from 10 to 25%. This is very good. And another perfect example of scaling. The damage of Frozen Orb goes from 10 to 15, which is a buff, but then the 15% is going to scale to 36 instead of 40. I already pointed this out in the class changes where this was announced, how terrible of a legendary this was. Now it's better. Now 30% chance is much more reasonable to make it proc, and 50% refund is okay. Still don't think it's great, but it's usable, you know, it can have a purpose. What can't have a purpose is Blizzard fetish with forcing Demon Hunter to play anything else other than Sinful Brand. This is about the 7th nerf to Sinful Brand or buff to all the other covenants, and now it's getting nerfed even more, from 520% attack power to 338. Maybe this is the right time for Demon Hunter to try any other covenant. Finally, Makamashi Panther. You will see in my raid DPS rankings for Castellanatria a sad and disappointed voice in me giving up to Blizzard not wanting to nerf Makamashi Panther, and me being forced to put them in A tier. Well, fuck you! Let's say goodbye to the absolute strongest legendary for Makamashi Panther. Let's say goodbye to the only reason Makamashi Panther was SS tier in 3-target cleave. This is now completely gone, to the point that I kind of feel sad because the new legendary is I don't fucking know. Another nerf though. On top of that, there is also another nerf to Flayed Shot. Flayed Shot was the strongest, or rather, the only viable spec for Flayed Shot was Hunter, because Hunter could synergize with Kill Shot in a talent that gave you 2 Kill Shot charges, as well as a 60% faster charge of Aim Shot. This now makes it even worse. The damage has been completely butchered, even with the faster duration of the DOT from 20 to 14 seconds is still a nerf, and the chance of gaining the Flayer's mark is going to go down from 15 to 10%, so this is another pretty bad nerf. Talking about nerfs, we have to enter Rogue territory. Rogue is getting butchered left and right because of subtlety and partially Outlaw, and Assassination for some reason is being stuck in between. The poor guy keeps getting nerfed, he doesn't know why. It's like a kid with 2 parents that keep fighting. You know, Child Services is gonna come and put him away, and he doesn't know why. That's Assassination. Because Outlaw is getting Ambidexterity heavily nerfed. The additional chance during your burst, during your Blade Flurry, to proc your Mastery has been gutted by basically a third of the damage. Sudden Fractures has been buffed. It's the only buff basically for Rogue because of how terribly bad Serrated Bone Spike was nerfed. So this is sort of like a makeup buff for Blizzard. It's interesting, they seem to have nerfed and continue to nerf all of the Covenant abilities, but they keep buffing the conduits for those abilities. It might be a smart choice, probably, maybe. Continuing on the nerf train of Rogue, Sub-Rogue, another one that I pointed out in my video being a crucial part of Sub-Rogue damage, Deeper Daggers, giving you 30% more damage to your Shadow Strike by using Eviscerate. Now it's going down to 8%, although the duration is longer. Not that Subtlety had problems using 1 Eviscerate every 5 seconds, to be fair, so it's still a pretty big nerf. Another nerf, pretty big nerf to Symbols of Death. From 6% to 4% is the initial crit chance nerf, which is minor. However, look at that fucking scaling. From 34% to 9.6, that is brutal. I'll see you again in like 10 months when this is going to be relevant, but it's gonna hurt. Likely you will have forgotten that this is what it was supposed to be. And now looking at the Abused Child Assassination, what is there to say? Apparently the instant damage of your lethal poisons was a problem that it got nerfed by a third. And a fourth in the scaling. Because reasons. Oh yeah, of course, Maim Mangle was a problem because increasing the damage of Mutilate was a problem. You know, Mutilate is like 7% of your whole damage. Let's just nerf it by 40%. This one I don't even want to call it a nerf because it was a new thing that was added in the last class change. They tried to give Shiv this extra effect and then they just reverted it a week later to go back to improve the natural damage you do after you use Shiv on the target, which is okay. It was fine before. Talking about pure abused childs that are getting nerfed for reasons, we have survival. Why? What is the purpose of this change? Why do you want to nerf Mungus Bite by a third in base damage and scaling? I don't understand. Another change, this is more of a change than a nerf, is the change to Resto's legendary. It was a terrible legendary before, and it is going to continue to be a terrible legendary now. The quality of life is that now it's going to proc when the target is below 75% instead of 50, so that's good. However, Herchill has shit healing and the 300% was already weak, so imagine now that it's down to 150%, how terrible that is. Talking about Shamans, another further round of nerfs from 310% scaling to 205. But, you know, I'm on a good mood. I just finished my other Castanatria DPS ranking videos, so let's just finish on a nice note. Buff to Vengeance Demon Hunter. This is just a scaling damage buff to Soul Furnace, and for the damage of Soul Cleave, you know, it's a reasonable 50% damage increase. However, Soul Cleave has other problems than this type of damage scaling. It's the healing it does. You need to increase the healing on top of the damage. Anyways, with this we are done with this round of changes. You can go and look up the rest of the wall of text of changes that they have pulled through. A lot of this is going to be a 3 to 4 to 5% changes on conduits. It's really nothing. These were all the major changes. So I'm going to go back at finishing and uploading the Castanatria DPS rankings. In the meantime, please try not to cry too much about your spec being changed. There is like one class change patch notes every fucking week, and it's gonna continue for several weeks, so don't freak out. That's what balancing is supposed to be, alright? So chill out, take this thing in stride, and don't take too much out of this, alright? See you guys soon, and in the meantime, I'm back scavenging for more flute songs.